stroke survivor, Jerry Wald. And for those of you that are new here, I appreciate it. And I started doing the show to bring awareness to stroke, TBI, aphasia, brain injury, and also wanted to provide a platform for all survivors to share their journeys from all across the world, and also bringing on experts in brain health so they can share their knowledge with us so we can learn more about it. And speaking of experts in brain health, my guest is Dr. Tom Broussard, also known as a stroke educator, and he has a lot of other titles. But anyway, please make comments, ask questions, and if you haven't done that, please subscribe to my YouTube channel called Let's Talk Stroke. And we'll go ahead and get this show started. All righty. Thank you guys for being here. I can already see a bunch of them out there. And thank you too. Well, hello, my friends. Let's go ahead and bring on Dr. Broussard. And first of all, I know I'm talking too fast, so I'm just mumbling my way through this thing here. How are you?
Nice to see you,
good
Jerry.
To be seen, huh?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Not just viewed.
Exactly.
Right.
So, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. And you see all the comments on your right side.
Right. I see them. I see lots of names I know.
Awesome.
Robert Golden, Serena, William. Yep. Lynn, Jocelyn.
Awesome.
Yep. How do you like that?
Exactly.
Nice to see everyone. Zane. Simply Obs. Yep.
Obs is awesome. I hate to even say all this stuff. I just said Simply Obs. I said, oh, she's awesome. But I want to say everybody's awesome. I don't want to, single anyone out here. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Jerry's awesome.
I do.
Jerry's awesome.
Absolutely.
Everybody knows that.
So I know. I remember a long time ago we did. You had the first book, but now it's the Stroke Premiere. You put that on there because the first one it wasn't on there, was it? On your aphasia.
Well,
a stroke premiere. The ABCs of aphasia.
Right. Yes, that's my fourth book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, I just want to say your books have really made a difference with me because I can read them. I don't get bored, and that's what's great. There's a lot of things in there. So if anybody hasn't done it, go to Amazon or wherever these books are sold.
Sure.
And Tom does have 4 or 5 books. Or you're working on 5 books? Yeah.
Five so far.
That's great. That's great. It's been a while. I think we've known each other about 7 years.
Yeah, a long time. I know. And your speech continues to just get amazingly better over these years. I remember you from the beginning. Wow. And you were
you got
fantastic.
to tell my wife that.
Seriously.
She doesn't think, she's always saying, what? You don't make any sense. So.
Bring her in so I can see her.
I've told her many times, you need to get on. She'll never get on here, but that's okay though. Yeah.
Oh, too funny.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I was lucky this morning. I got an email from a person in Ireland. His wife had a stroke January 9th, this month. A TIA apparently, but still had some issues, including aphasia, and sent me a note. He said he found me online, wanted to check in, see how you're doing. He said my wife is doing better, discharged a week or two ago, and he said he just bought the ABCs of aphasia. This is from Ireland.
Yeah,
so that's true. Nice.
Congratulations! That's great that it's going, the world.
Yeah, I got one last week from Scotland. So I do get a lot from the UK world, which is always fun.
Yeah, that is great. I love that because it's such a, I think I have all your books, which, and the CD. or CD. Do they call them CDs anymore? The DVDs or something. I don't even know.
Something.
Yeah, that yeah, because speech, yes, Lynn. But you've done so much in the aphasia world, and now you're going to be taking a sabbatical.
There you go. You got it. You
Yeah.
got it.
So what's new with you? We can update. 'Cause I don't know if everybody. Um, I see Kevin Loftus out here, and Catherine. Nice to see you guys. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you've come a long way from you had 3 strokes.
True. As you say, go and give you a little bit what's been happening more recently. I don't know how many in your subscribers are also part of my subscribers. So I don't know if they get all the
Right.
emails that you get with all of the articles about this last year doing those 24 scientists that all have a hand on the brain, stroke, aphasia. And when I did that last year, I did it, well, now it's been 10 years since I got better enough to start doing what I do now. Obviously, at the beginning of my 10, I'm not as good as I am now, but now I'm getting older. So maybe I'm not doing so well now just because I'm older. Nothing to do with my strokes and aphasia. But the as I finished this big series, it was 2 a month for all last year, and then part of that was to put it together. So again, not that folks have seen this. Actually, I can show it to them. So I ended up making. So I ended up having written all of these articles, and then for January this month for my birthday, I put this all together, and they're all hyperlinks, so you can actually go and get each article off of this one PDF. So this went out for my birthday, which was last Thursday, actually just a couple days ago, and I sent this with it so that people go, oh, again, if you haven't gotten the email, that'd be the thing, but Jerry has it, or I have it if you send me an email. But this gives you basically what happened with me with my first stroke, and then over the last 10 years, starting to figure out not only how each of us get better, as everybody here in your group are all improving, but also beginning to realize that the system itself, the stroke aphasia system, has its own issues, right? We have our deficits. The hospitals have their deficits. And I don't mean no disrespect to the people that work there, the doctors, the nurses, they're all heroes. But even they, once we explain it to them, even they realize, oh, the system that they work with, they realize their system itself is still fractured. It still doesn't do what it needs to do with people that have aphasia. So that's what I've been working on for the last several years. And as many of you know, I've been surveying all of the stroke-centered hospitals in the country. I started last year with Aphasia Nation, and we got to 418 hospitals, and 17% of the overarching hospital baseline. And I made a big presentation last year to the national people about this same issue. That's actually called, the article is called "Fish Can't See Water, and Hospitals Can't See Aphasia." And because unfortunately, 92% of those hospitals that we have surveyed, 92% don't know anything about aphasia, meaning it's not in their website, not in their literature, not in materials provided to people that are discharged with stroke and aphasia. 92% have nothing or so little as to be not useful, meaning any number of things. But if it doesn't show up on their website, that means they don't know about it. So that's what we've been working on. And yes, now taking a break from doing so much writing last year and now have to do so much more studying and be ready, which is probably going to take me another year or two to start talking more about how the brain works and how so many more people need to know a lot more about it. And an interesting thing is that so many of us who had brain injury with stroke and aphasia, we get to see how we get better. So we can actually begin to understand more about how the brain works than most normal people who don't know how the brain works. But they also don't know how learning works, because that's how we got better. We learned how to learn based on these, as Jerry said earlier, these modalities of reading, writing, and speaking. So anyway, that's what I've been working on for the last 10 years and going forward hopefully for the next 10 years or longer. But yeah, definitely send an email to Jerry, or Jerry can send it to you, so you can get the information that I just about this as a good example.
Yeah. It's funny because you mentioned, I don't know how many years ago, well, you just mentioned a little bit ago, when you type in the word stroke in the American Hospital Association, and there's lots of information on that. But then when you type in aphasia, there's not much in there.
Well, the American Heart Association, so I've been a national volunteer for them for 6 years, and been working with them for a long, long time. And finally, last year, the American Heart Association began to put much more information about aphasia in their website. And now there is a aphasia support group on the American Heart Association. So if you go into their website at what's called the support network, you can actually go there, and it has heart and stroke. So if you see stroke, you hit stroke, and you will see there are 2 additional groups, and one is aphasia support group. So you get to see that. There's a little over 1,000 people who are registered there. And up until now, I was the lead for both stroke and aphasia for the American Heart Association. Now we have 2 replacements for me to do both of those. Now I'm just behind the scene providing content. But yes, you should go there, and you can see more information about aphasia there. So at least you get the beginning. But it took me 5 years to basically pestering them up to the vice president there to say, God, come on, guys, 30 to 40% of people with stroke have aphasia. How can this be that nobody really talks about it at all, unfortunately? So anyhow, yes, we've made some progress, but as Jerry and I talked earlier, but for the most of it, it's still, we have a long way to go.
Kevin, I think, that you're asking Tom about this, I guess. This question here.
Oh, what's your biggest setback and how did I overcome it? Oh, and Kevin might not know my story. The really, really short story, because I'm an old guy. I have lots of stories, so that takes forever. A really, really short story is, of course, I was an associate dean at a college outside of Boston called Brandeis University, and the graduate school there called the Heller School. I was there for 5 years as the associate dean, and my wife and I were walking on Main Street in Waltham, Massachusetts. I fell down on the street, had my first stroke, and that was really the beginning of understanding what had happened to me, because obviously, not unlike Jerry's and other people, most of us have lost our job because of a stroke. Of course, I lost my job because I couldn't read, write, or speak well. So to answer that, Kevin's question is, that's what happened. How did I get better? Obviously, I really didn't realize what was wrong, and I didn't know how I would get better. I was just lucky based on who I was before my stroke. I always kept track of my life in a great calendar. I didn't keep a diary, but I did keep track in various notes, longer notes about my life and what I was doing. I was an engineer working for the Navy, building ships for the Navy. and I was the director of mechanical engineering and design. And I always wrote in meetings about what we were building. So I always wrote with graphs and charts and text to go with them. And when I got out of the hospital, and about a month later, I thought, well, I should just sort of keep track. And I kept what turned out to be a 500-page diary with graphs, charts, and metaphorical drawings and words that didn't make any sense for the first 200 words, although the words were 200 pages. The words were spelled properly for the most part, but they still didn't make any sense. So clearly the grammar and syntax was damaged. Anyway, so that's how it all started, because it turns out that all the stimulus, that's how it all works, really. There's this thing called experience-dependent neuroplasticity. Well, it's the experience-dependent. You have to have this experience. So you have to, if you can't speak, you have to speak. If you can't write, you have to write. If you can't do any number of things, modalities, as Jerry said, you have to do those things, however bad they might be. And if you do that enough times, over time, you will get better at the place of where it is in the head. That's a short story. You need, that's too long.
No, not at all. Did you know in the beginning what neuroplasticity was?
No idea. Like I say, I was an engineer, but I had no idea what this thing does up there with that 3-pound jelly thing. I had really none, zero, nothing about the medicine world either.
Wow, it's shocking, because now I feel like I know everybody, we all need to learn more, but you've really, from your background, that you took notes all the time, and I don't want to go back like I wish, because to take notes like you did all the time and keep a diary of all that, because I'm still learning stuff from my kids, or like I was a disaster. I was an emotional wreck in the beginning, because I think Stephen said the same thing. There's not enough something about the emotional part of stroke, brain injury, I'll say.
Right.
We don't have enough support in that area. I don't think the emotional side of recovery is discussed enough.
Boy, I don't know who said that, but I think you're darn right. It's difficult for me too, myself, never mind everybody else,
Right.
Because it's so emotional to talk about the emotional component of it. But I'm going to write another article. I hope to do it fairly soon. There's a great a scientist. He is one of the 24.
Right.
And actually, he was at the very, very, very beginning. His name is Joseph Wapman, Wepman. And he was very good at what he did back then. This was in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 1940s, 50s, 60s. And one of the things, he wrote a great book about aphasia. But what I didn't realize was, till I read his book, I went, oh my God. He wrote, because basically, if you have aphasia, all the doctors and whoever's writing about it, they'll think about aphasia. They'll think about it as speech, right? The reading, writing, and speaking. That's pretty much what they talk about. The emotional component, yes, there's a couple of those kinds of things, the stroke of insight, a couple others, stroke onwards. But still, as you say, not too many. Well, reading about Whitman's work, you get to see that he wrote about not just the reading, writing, and speaking, but lists 34 non-language deficits of people with aphasia. 34 lists. Oh, I have it.
It's incredible.
It is. Here it is. This is why I'm thinking about writing this article like next month. Well, here they are. And you won't be able to see it, but he's saying it's so much more than just your reading, writing, and speaking. There's so much more that goes into what he discussed as the whole person, right? You have to treat the whole person. And as a result of that, other deficits, as it were, would get better, but you really have to treat the whole person. So when he was talking about here, not that all of it is about emotion, but a lot of it is about emotion here, whether it be the loss of attention,
Right.
memory, judgment, or euphoria, social withdrawal, reduced initiative, all these kinds of things that have a lot to do with the emotion. Back to the person who asked that question. Yeah, that's another issue for sure. Not a lot is talked much about that. Obviously, depression is part of that too. But yeah, it going back to what he said about the whole perspective, the whole person's perspective about what's, quote, wrong with them. So yeah. So that's another one. Go to
Yeah, it's true. Now, I see Tammy's comment here. I know I can't write it down. Well, I can't just because it affected my dominant side, my stroke. So that's why I can't write it down, because you can't read with, I'm not ambidextrous. So Tammy, because it really is kind of crazy that it affects reading, talking, writing, aphasia, part of it. Wow. I mean, who knew? I certainly didn't. But yeah, it's just,
some of those things like Tammy was talking there about. She says, after my stroke, I can talk and read, but I can't write it down. Among those things are the 34 other deficits that lead you not to be able to write it down, right? There's other kinds of deficits that find their way into the brain in certain places just continues to be incredibly difficult to do what others think they can do just fine. But that doesn't mean that it's not this. Everybody is so completely different. It all has to do with parts of your brain that it can or can't, quote, get to, just because of the way the brain is built. And that's why some people do it well and others don't. And for all of the effort that I know Tammy is a good example, has done for years of the effort that goes into it and still can't get to it. Well, thank goodness that people do what they do and get as far as they can with the deficits they have that are getting better. And then using that to even be able to express, as you have, that, this is what I can and this is what I can't.
Absolutely.
So that's all helpful to all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. You can obviously see them there, but I appreciate you guys making comments, asking questions, because Tom is here. He's the one, the Aphasia Nation hero out here, trying to make a difference in this world, and it's so good that you're doing this.
I see the one there about the identity crisis, which is another good one when it comes on the emotional side of things, and that Debbie with the stroke onward, right? She's doing what she's doing, and that's very helpful when it comes to the identity crisis, because again, that has to do with who you were before, and then this hit, as it were, and then you come out the other side with the additional parts of the hit. I mean, it's like they hit you here, they hit you here, they hit you here, they hit you here, all these different places, clearly affecting the identity of who you are now and who you were before, and beginning to understand this transformation from going through the brain as a result of the injury, and finding your way. Again, finding your way is a difficult thing when it's still difficult to identify and express that travel through there. And that's why the identity crisis is so big.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Read Deb's book for sure. That's a good start.
Yeah, because I had her and Steve. They were on quite some time ago, but what amazing story from a professor at Stanford. But it's tough. I know. In spelling too, I could see it, Tammy, what she's saying there, and Kevin. Um, yeah, the faculty. So
Yeah.
when you went, because you were a dean at the school,
Yeah.
and I'm just looking at Kevin's comment. Did they treat you differently because you went back for a little while, or?
Good question. The I the after I had the stroke, um, I didn't go to the school for months and
Oh,
months and months and months and months. By then I'd been discharged from not only the hospital, from the company, from the college. I
sure.
couldn't go there anymore. But we were moving. So it was 9 months after my stroke, and we had to move because I'd lost
Yeah,
my income. My wife had a good job, but we needed both of us in Boston. It's expensive,
absolutely.
rent, the whole deal. But we had family in St. Augustine, and relatively inexpensive back then. That was 12 years ago. So we went to St. Augustine and got a small house next door to one of
Oh,
my wife's
nice.
sisters. But before we left, I was better. I thought I could speak really well. um, and we went to the school they were having a party with somebody in my old apartment. And we went there to say hi and goodbye, and that'd be it. So that's my only time. Um, but while I was there, um, they found it interesting because they still didn't know. A lot of people don't know what a stroke person looks like. Never mind somebody that you're close to, and now you have to quote hear from us what it is
Right.
we're trying to do. So one guy, one of the department heads, he started talking really loud in case you can't hear me. Even me saying, "Will you please stop doing this?" So he was screaming really that. Um, but there were other people there. Um, Almost all of them I had hired, and one was getting married. And somebody said, and I can't remember her name. Um, Somebody said, "Well, what's her name?" I called Chris. I don't remember. Is getting married. And I said, "Who?" And they said, "Oh, Chris, whatever." I said, "Well, who is that?" And they said, "Well, Chris, the one you hired. She's standing right there." I didn't understand. I didn't know. I still couldn't tell that they knew them. And at that point, they all went silent. They said, "Oh shit, this is why the guy is leaving, because he couldn't understand even the people he had hired. I couldn't come up with their name. I didn't know who they were."
Right.
Anyway, that was the only time I was there. Now I've been back there many times now and speaking there years later with a lot of my colleagues are still there, so they know a lot about it now because I pester them like I pester everybody else. So
Right.
yeah, but before, not so much. Oh, sorry about that.
Oh, no, no. No
Now, you know
big
what
deal.
that is? This is a guy. I'm closing it. This guy is from Moscow, Russia,
Yeah.
and he's a classmate of mine from long, long time ago with the Navy. And he had stroke and aphasia. I've been with him talking like this for many, many years, 5, 6,
Oh,
7 years since he had a
wow.
stroke. So he calls, a couple times a month, and that was him coming on
Oh,
Skype.
oh,
That was that
wow.
noise.
Well, you have to call him. Call him.
Yeah,
That's great. I love. We've had several people from Moscow on too on the show. Pretty amazing though.
yeah,
But it's good that you stay in touch with people like, I don't want to say people like that, but um, yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
funny and not funny because I keep thinking. I tell my wife about this. When you had your stroke, you fell down in the like a crosswalk, right? It was or in the street. And your
Yeah.
wife, did
And
she
by the
not?
way,
She was still walking, or did she?
oh yeah, and I see Marcia is there. Hi, Marcia. How you doing? I see your note there. Nice to see you. Um, so yes, my wife and I were walking. She was ahead of me, so she kept on going. We were going to a store
Right.
nearby in the evening, and um, and we crossed the street, together. But she kept on going. Well, I was still in the middle of the street, and I had the stroke in the middle of the street, and the last thing I saw was looking at my shoes, and that was it. At that point, I just
Yeah.
stopped. Well, eventually, my wife turned around and saw that I was crawling across the street getting to a pole and then another
Yeah.
pole nearby. And she came running back. She said, "You must be having a stroke." But at that point, even though my body was standing up, obviously lost my right side, she dragged me to the pharmacy at CVS, which is 300 feet away. But she dragged me there and called 911.
Yeah, it's quite the story. Um,
Yeah.
Looking back and thinking, wow, it's funny your wife knew, because our family did not know. I thought it was an older person's thing that happened, but I still
Oh,
didn't know
yeah.
what that was. Naive, but
Right.
now,
Yeah.
I mean,
Can you even imagine? Yeah.
yeah, but
These
yeah,
days.
it's funny you mention, what does a stroke person look like? Are you supposed,
That's
what are we
it.
supposed to look like? Um,
Yep.
Yeah, I see you there. Marcy, nice to see you. Lynn? Yeah, learning to walk. It took me a while to walk and talk. That made sense, I guess. But I didn't like that fact that I thought I could talk. And I hesitated going to a speech therapist at all.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's quite the journey that you got to go through.
It's
Yeah,
true for all of us with our own journey, for
exactly.
sure. And it's great that we have these groups like this. They're social groups, and we all get to learn from each other um, every single time, and we hear something new
Yeah.
every single time. So that's all incredibly helpful and
It is,
therapeutic.
and I'm so glad that I'm involved and met people out there in this stroke world, because when I first was able to walk and talk, my wife said, "Go get a hobby," because I didn't know all this stuff, you know, is out. The stroke world, as far as Facebook and YouTube and all these things. It's so really helpful. People see me out. Yeah, I'm with you there, Sid. But yeah. So what else do we can we share about? Because aphasia is like I mean, I love it. I love this. If anybody doesn't have this yet, my suggestion is go out to Amazon, right? And the other books as well. The
Right.
I and you can read it. That's the good thing about me. I get so bored nowadays just because of I use that excuse, my stroke, because big thick books. But I do have Deb's book, Meyerson, and
Right.
so many books. But that's a great book. I would definitely look into it and getting it, because it's really a great book. I mean, it's almost like I went back in time, being a little kid, to be able to read. But
Well, I knew when I wrote the book that I couldn't have read anything. I knew that, and it took a long time. But as I got better, I began to see that I could understand images, pictures. So I made the book starting with pictures, and then I added in big font the title, whatever it might be, and then I could understand that the words, I could understand individual
yeah,
words, but not full sentences. So again, but the way the brain works, I could see the images, and I could see one word, two word, then eventually three words, four words, and then eventually, a sentence. But I didn't know, obviously, at the time that I was observing my own recovery by looking at images first, individual words second, looking for two or three or four words, and then eventually build into a sentence. A, I was improving. B, I was not aware that what I was doing was the tool to getting better. And it was only years later, with of another one of these scientists. One of them is called where is he? John Jackson, this guy right here. And for those of you who could read that article and see, all right, I'm pointing at it again, this one here, you can read that article and you learn a little bit more because it's just a 2-page article, but then you can read more citations about how we read anyway, normal people, how people can read. And you get to see why it was that I could read individual words, but got beyond 2 or 3 words, then I couldn't read them. And I actually took pictures of the plaques and the signs out on the street, and I bring them home to my wife with this phone. I'd say, tell me what that is. And she would tell it to me, right? And I go, I don't understand I don't understand. Why is that? Because it's individual words were very small. I could understand them, but once you put them together, I couldn't. Well, if you read from John Jackson is in the 1800s, you read that, you begin to go, oh, when it comes to reading, the way the brain works is it becomes an entity unto itself. So it's not like reading a sentence 1 word at a time. You end up reading the gist of that sentence and it becomes its own entity. So if something breaks, the whole thing just falls down. You can't read any of it, even though you could read any one individual ones if you were to block off all the other words and just get to the one. So you get to see that there about the what they call a word heap that just falls down. It's a heap, and it has to be organized in a certain way, and that's how the brain works when it comes to reading.
That's incredible.
For somebody says need a link. So everybody, now that we've talked about this, I forgot, you don't even need the email. You can go right to either Stroke Educator, that's my website, or Aphasia Nation, and both of those will have these PDFs, and then you can then you can print that out for yourself or have it online, and then you can go with the PDF that is buried within the big PDF and get to all those articles. Yeah.
And your website, your YouTube channel is Stroke Educator.
Yes, and you can do that on YouTube. You'll just have me talking, and I think you'll actually see this in this most recent YouTube. But again, go to either strokeeducator.com or aphasianation.org, and they both have all that information. So yes, you can get to that.
And you do your YouTube shows every Tuesday, right? Typically.
Well, it's usually on a Tuesday. This year, not so many times. I won't do it so many times, but yeah, this last year I did it every Tuesday. And then somebody says a link to the PDF on your Facebook page. Is there a link to the PDF?
Is there?
Well, if there is, it probably is a link to the website, and then you can get to the PDF there. But again, and maybe Jerry can put the. Can you put the 2 websites on your call?
Yes. Wait, look at them.
You'll be able to get to it that way.
Look at all these.
Or send me your email, of course.
Now let's see. I know you aphasiaproject.org. You still have that, right? Info at. Is this right here? This one? I just want to make sure. The info at aphasiaproject.org.
Strokeeducator.org. I'm sorry, aphasianation.org.
Yeah. Let's see. What else do I have here? aphasiaproject.org.
I just got the note from Cindy Emily Wood about those stacked blocks, and you pull one near and it all falls down. Yes, very similar to that, given the loss of coupling between the words. There's loss of couplings that it happens, and exactly what you just said. It was a wonderful metaphor. Just those tower of blocks, pull one out at the bottom, boom, falls down. And Canadians join the aphasia stroke support groups. Well, there's lots of American aphasia groups around the country. And you can look online and just find some and then see if you can join or how you can make that happen. I have just a couple of Canadian people who do get my website. I mean, so you can get all my articles and things. But again, my email is on all of these things. You can send me an email, Tracy. I can put you on the list so you get lots of information. And then we can even email. And if you particularly want to see one place or another and join a particular group, I know a couple where I know how to make that happen.
Yes, absolutely.
Particularly one in Boston. If you want to see the Boston one, send me an email.
Well, this is good. I could see them all. Lynette here's. So Dr. Broussard, thank you for everything you've done. I have the ABC Aphasia book. That's awesome. Yeah, and I think I can't remember who said it, but there, and I apologize. Wow, yeah, it's loose.
And you guys can all just call me Tom too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you go to the website, can they go to strokeeducator.com? And then they can navigate
all there too.
There.
Oh yeah, there you go. There you go. AphasiaNation.org.
Thank you for putting that in there.
And then the other one.
Yeah, there's I know.
Oh, and you know what? If you do that, then you can actually, because it's, how these things are. So this is the last one, but you go further up, you'll be able to see all of the articles with my video, with the link to the article, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, everything is there on Aphasia Nation. Stroke Educator too, but Aphasia Nation has a better app with Elementor app. So anyway,
Aphasia Nation, I don't know why I don't have. I had them all on here. I never got rid of them. AphasiaNation.org.
Stroke. Well, you have to spell it properly, but strokeeducator.com. Yes. Yes, one word, no spaces, but stroke. STO.
Yeah. Thank you, Stephen, putting that in there. I appreciate everybody just putting Tom's all his information. He's got a ton. I don't so much information that's valuable to all of us.
Well, the one there from Zane, I guess I'm sure Jane. I'm sure you are in my database because I know your name well. You're talking about dyslexia, which I don't know much at all about it. However, like you say, it's that apparently is a learning disability, and aphasia is a language disorder. Excuse me. And I don't know why they call it a disability versus a disorder. I don't know. I don't know why they do that. But now that you've said that, I'll go look that up and figure out why they use it one way versus the other.
Interesting stuff there, but yeah.
But yes, it is a language disorder, and often people do refer to aphasia as a disease, and other things. So we continue to say language disorder.
Right.
But I will look up that stuff here that you mentioned, Zane.
I see that, Cindy. It's amazing. Says the healing. I don't believe that. It says because I've seen some changes over 13 years. Because Cindy says her doctor will not do a current test. Says healing is first 5 years, and that no reason to do a test. Yeah.
What? 2 times 7 receptive. My doctor will not do a current test. Says only healing is first 5 years, and no need to do tests now. Well, that's basically bullshit. You can find somebody else to talk with about it for sure. That's it. And to say that it says only healing in the first 5 years, bullshit. It goes on forever. In 5 years.
Because I was told that just Cindy, after maybe 2 years that I have plateaued in this by one of my therapists, and after that I ended up going back, but she retired. truth, so I couldn't tell her, look at me walking now and all this stuff, talking. But anyway, yeah, Brad, I see you, Brad. Yeah, I agree, Zane. Find a new doctor, because that's not true. Yeah, just crazy stuff. But no,
excuse me.
So, I mean, we could talk about aphasia all. I mean, I appreciate what you've done, Tom, just because in the beginning, that's probably, like you said, probably 7 years ago or so, we met, and then you doing campaigns about aphasia and all that. Wow. I mean, I didn't know about it until I ordered my charts. I think I mentioned to you, I ordered my charts, and there was one little word in there. It said aphasia, but no one ever told me what that was. There was no explanation of what that was. So it's kind of like, I feel I know exactly what it is now. And
yeah. Can you imagine? Remember those 418 hospitals I've surveyed so far? Believe it or not, only 3 hospitals anywhere in their website listed the National Aphasia Association link. Three out of 418 hospitals actually have that link that takes you there, or Aphasia Nation. None of us have it there, and only 3 have the National Aphasia Association.
Can
you imagine?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. My word is never to say the word plateau. I agree. It's a dirty word.
And I see Marcia there. My word is never say the word plateau. Yeah. That is so true. That is so true.
You see improvements, don't you?
Hi, Brad.
Tom, you still, hey, Brad, you still see improvements? Because I know I do. I mean, 13 years out, and I still see, I've had setbacks, because falling or something, but still get back up and, move forward. But
that is true.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yes.
That's right.
No plateau.
Exactly.
And it's sad, because if you're talking to doctors often, and I've been with doctors just talking to me about one thing or another, and I'll try to explain something, and they often will say, well, you've probably plateaued. As soon as they say that, you go, all right, I'm not going to talk with you anymore, because you have no idea what we're talking about.
So they said that.
Idea. Oh, yeah. And matter of factly, they just assume that, you're never going to get better. You have to, that's why I go with all my stuff whenever I'm anywhere, because these doctors really do not know how the brain works.
Yeah, absolutely. Crazy stuff out there. Wow.
Yep. You cannot not learn.
It's a constant learning thing for you. I mean, I learned so much from you. I mean, I watch your YouTube videos all the time. So if you get onto Stroke Educator, subscribe to your YouTube channel, and then if they hit that notification, they can see when you're on. It's great. And all these, you held up the all the scientists that you've, and I love reading about those, or hear and you talk about them. It's really amazing.
Jerry and I, like all of us here, are just in this mutual admiration society.
That's great, man. It's good stuff out there. I'm so glad you were able to be on here to, wow, to be on here and share your experience and what you're doing lately. So now, kind of like close to the end, what's your next step? Or is it not to be told?
Good question. Including that not to be told. I have so much to learn in this year, but obviously has to do an awful lot with plasticity and how it is that we all get better. I think, I'm not sure, I'm gonna, congratulations, Jennifer, tomorrow.
Yes.
Congratulations. Wow. Um, the oh the I think that somehow the people with stroke and aphasia, and in this path of recovery, that we happen to be able to learn more about how the brain works and about plasticity, much more than all the other people who will never hear about it unless they have a stroke themselves. There's nothing in schools. I mean, there's a little bit here and there, but not much in the world to know that to learn a little bit about how the brain works helps you learn an awful lot about how you learn. If you just can understand this little bit, even what we're
Right.
talking about here. So I think after I do some more study, um, I'm sure I will be writing about the fact that it's incredibly important for the wider public to know how the brain works with plasticity. And yes, to use us, I'll probably use some good anecdotes in the writing so that people can see from our perspective that they need to learn a little bit
Right.
more too, because it's incredibly plasticity. To understand plasticity is incredibly um, uh, an educational tool if you come to understand that going forward. So I have to figure all this out, but that's why I'm going to spend more studying and less writing.
Yeah, you've done your share of writing. So, whiting.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But wow. Yeah, I see. This is great. No, Brad, I haven't. I know. Keep you posted on my license plate. Um, Actually, haven't been driving a whole lot, I could say, just as this is where I'm, and my wife works out of the house, so really, yeah, that's sorry. It's really
And hey, Jerry, what's that? There's a question there about a license plate. I mean,
yes,
aphasia
I know
license
Brad
plate?
has one. You have yours. I mean,
Yes.
I know. It's there's no excuse.
Yeah. Six states have aphasia plates. Texas is not
So I
one.
could be the first. Yes, get my
Of
ass
all
in gear. I
people.
know. Yeah, you know, I'll look to it because no, but I want to. I know. It's one of those things. There's no excuse. Sorry, guys. Um, 21 year. Yeah, I know. Look at all these comments. I appreciate you guys just commenting away here. Thank you. What
Yeah.
RFA? Where
Yeah.
Tracy? Where do you live? Um, just because Mr. Tom here, I'm not going to explain. Tom will because
Oh, I see. Plays a plate. So depending where you are, Tracy, like anybody, it's a vanity plate. So you just have to go on your website to your DMV, and typically, at least in our state, there's a vanity plate. You can tell what you want to do. I think it's $25. Um, and if you put in aphasia and nobody has it, then you can have it. You can buy it and get it back in a couple of weeks. So that's what happened
wow,
for me here,
cheap there.
and
Yeah,
other people too.
that's cheap there. Ours is like it's probably triple that amount at least. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
really?
way expensive.
Well,
But
if you have that done, take lots of pictures and send it to me. I will put it in both our websites, big, with you and your plate, and that
yeah,
also helps people learn a lot more with that
oh,
on your car.
it definitely strikes up conversations because I have several of these on my license plate. I mean, on my car, and I see
Right.
when I see them look, they stop and look, and I'm sure they have no clue what that is. Some people maybe, but
It's true.
um,
I know. Sometimes they think it looks like a religion. It's some kind of food or a
yeah,
country's name.
absolutely.
It's
Um,
true.
yeah, so there you go, Tracy out there in Canada, another Canadian. Look at this, love it.
Well, definitely,
Yes,
definitely.
so
Send me an email, Tracy.
yes, it was put in the comments out here, uh, but Tom's easy to find. He's well known out in this world. Doctors don't understand the word plateau, but they don't understand the positive attitude. Yeah. Jerry Chapman. There you are. I'm finding mine. Magnetic like that. Wow. Good stuff. Wow.
Good. Cool.
Well, I appreciate it. Is there any free stickers?
Not anymore.
You know what the funny thing is I don't know if it's a funny thing, but when you have a stroke, you know how it does, Serena. Well, you lose your job, and then it really doesn't pay good anymore. So, are there any free stickers, Robert? I know, but that's okay.
Well, eventually. So I bought these things 2 times over the years, and I think I bought them for $500 each, and it cost me like $1,500. Wow. Well, you know, that went away after I lost all my insurance, was all gone. Yeah, I still have a couple of these, and they're in my car and my family's cars. And if ever I make any kind of money, then sure, I will make another batch of them and then sell them for $5 each plus shipping. But I don't even have. I have just 3 or 4 or 5 left here.
Unbelievable. They are good.
Like
you said, Serena, they do strike up a conversation. Yeah,
right.
I love it. But well, I appreciate you being here, Tom. Any last words? I do love all the comments here too. I know Tom does as well. Shirley, after the stroke, I found you online. Online. I remember you saying you need to be a lifetime student. To hear that helpful. Yeah. Yes, I love it.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I could see a lot of the people coming through there. Marcy, I haven't seen for a long time. Nice to see her.
Yeah.
But I know I didn't get to read all of your notes. But thank you very much to everybody. As always, it's wonderful to be with Jerry and with all of you. And I tell Jerry all the time, I will come back anytime.
I love it. I appreciate it, and keep studying. And it helped you, Lynette. It helps me. Yeah. I really appreciate, Tom, what you've done for this whole stroke aphasia world. Brain injury. I always use brain injury because, TBIs fall in that category as, I think, for the most part.
Yes. Another member of the Mutual Admiration Society.
All right.
Always great. One of these days, Jerry, I can't wait to get to Texas and get to see you there. That'd be wonderful.
Same here.
Wonderful. I got to see all of your 12 or 13. He has almost 13 grandkids, and he's so much younger than me. I have no idea. So I got to come to Texas and get to see
maybe you can watch some of them. But one due probably any day. The last one for now.
Yeah, and hang on, I'm getting one thing because I see somebody has a note there. Come on. Somebody's asking there. It says you have some information. So if you get pulled over, you can get this on Aphasia Nation too. You can put this in your car. It's just you put that on there. You can see that, so that they can see who you are, because like somebody mentioned earlier, people think you might have are drunk when in fact you just have aphasia. So you can put this up on your car, put your name, and I've used this before, and I've trained our local police department with this, among other things, so that they can better understand it. So you can print this out for yourself on aphasianation.com.org. And I think it's something called Aphasia Tools or something like that. But yes, you can get this too. And that's helpful.
Yeah.
Helpful.
And I always wondered that when I'm driving or somewhere, because sometimes I'm shaking or can't. It seems like if I got pulled over, that's when I'll be a disaster trying to speak and saying the right things. So that card is very helpful.
Right. Right. And the you can also get this. Also, you can print this off of Aphasia Nation. It's a folder, a brochure about Aphasia Nation, about aphasia. You can print that off too.
I think I remember you. You must have posted it somewhere. You with a bunch of police officers or somewhere.
Yes. Yes. Oh, I think Marcia was there. I think Marcia was there. She was actually there. I don't know if she's in the picture. Hopefully she would be. But yeah, she was there at that an event that we had. Yep, you're right.
Wow. Robert, the link, please. If you go to aphasianation.org, that's where you'll find it. And I could take me a little bit to type. I should have had it in there in the beginning, so I apologize. But aphasianation.org, and that's where you can find all that stuff. Mail of things to you.
Aphasia mail the hard copy of the things. To you. Will Aphasia Nation mail the hard copies of the things to you? No, when you go to the website, you'll be able to print it right off your own computer.
Yeah. Or if you don't have the, what do you call that? You can go to your local UPS store. When my printer breaks, that's what I do. But
right.
Yeah, or Staples. Yeah. Right. So anyway, well, I appreciate it. Been a great show, and I appreciate so much, Tom. You really are inspiring to me, and I appreciate it.
Thanks, Jerry. You too, and everybody here on the call. Nice to see you all.
Absolutely. Thank you, Stephen, for the link. Take care, you guys. Have a great rest of your day.
Absolutely.